everybody, this is Keith Gleason, host of Indie Comics Relay and creator of the Mighty Mascots. I'm here with two guests today. We got my co-host, Johnny C., creator of Sartana and Surrounded by Death, and a past guest, Tony Sedani, creator of, I forget the name of the comic.
Return to Randor, Skin Deep.
Skin Deep, right? Was it Skin Deep?
Return to Randor, Skin Deep, and
that's what it was. Yeah,
weird
the
shit.
latest crazy book, Weird Shit. Yeah.
Crazy weird shit. Yeah, Tony's been on our show before, and also we see him in a lot of local shows in this area, which is awesome too. But the reason I called you gentlemen together today is we often do con reports on this channel, and you guys happen to hit, like, I think what's considered one of the meccas of indie comics is Small Press Expo in, is it Baltimore? Is it
Bethesda,
Maryland. Yep.
Bethesda, Maryland. And you guys are, and I know Tony, you've gone multiple times, and then Johnny, this was your first time going. So like, I know indie creators, like, this is the show that most indie creators want to get to, like, or that you hear about, besides like Mice, and I think there's a couple other ones in the Midwest that are big. But I always hear about SPX a lot. So I guess, like, let's start with you guys. Like, how was your experience as vending as artists at the show? Like, what were your thoughts?
Tony, you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, I can give my history.
Yeah, definitely.
I think 2011, I joined a couple of my friends. They were tabling at the show, and they were debuting their books. We're like a comic collective called Stockpile Comics.
Okay.
And they were debuting their books that year, so I had gone down just to, like, hang out and, hang out by the booth and stuff like that. And they did so much business. I was just like, oh my God, like, everyone's stopping, looking at the books, buying the books. I think they either sold out of their, I think they sold like maybe 40 issues in like over the course of the weekend. Okay. They had just debuted their books, and we said, we got to do this show again next year. So the following year, we got 2 tables, and all 4 of us tabled again. I had debuted a anthology book with my buddy, and it was like a horror themed book, and we sold I think close to 40 copies of that book over the course of the weekend, which was good for us.
That's actually really good. Yeah.
And I also had like a mini book, and I sold a ton of those. We did really well, and I was just like, "This is great. This is what cons are like."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "This is awesome." So then, doing the show every year. So same thing. Did it again the year after. I think that was 2013, and did just as well. The thing about it is just people, there's comics for everyone there. It's just like, whoever you are, there's just like weird things you've never heard of. Yeah, it's great. And so then after that, they implemented a lottery because it was so hard to get in there that then we just stopped getting in because, you couldn't win the lottery. Before that, though, it was first come, first serve.
Gotcha.
Which was how we were able to acquire a spot every year. Yeah. So then,
because I've tried a couple times, and it's the lottery thing I've lost the few times I've tried.
So every year I applied, and then this is the first year I finally got through.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then, so finally made a return now 9 years later. And I got to say, the show's a lot different. I feel like it's less of like stuff like what I do. Like, I would say like inspired by traditional comics, but still in an indie flavor. It's more like the I don't know, I don't want to say like buzzword, but like a hipster crowd or something, like slice of life stuff, which I love. I have a ton of that stuff, but I'm just saying that seems to be like what has kind of taken over and it's more focused on. Like, it used to be like maybe 50%. And then now it seems like to be like more like 80 to 90%.
Oh, wow. Okay.
At least that's my perspective of it.
Interesting.
But,
I'll have to agree with you there, Tony.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the type of people that are buying the books there too. So I feel like it just, it's changed, and that's, not a bad thing. It just, it is what it is. So I just I felt a little alienated just because like I felt like I was offering something that people didn't want there, I guess.
Like, you were offering like a horror book at like a kids con or something, right? Is that is that the kind of the feeling? Interesting.
That's a good analogy, even though, which is funny that there was actually no kids at the show, which there never has been. It's really not for, I'd say that for every like 50 adults, there was one kid. So it was like very light on kids.
Interesting.
So anyways, with that said, I actually did really well because I don't know how. I must have hit every person that that could have possibly liked my book. And I think that's because people at the show, they literally look at everything that they're walking by, which I appreciate. It gets very frustrating sometimes at big shows where people don't even like look at your booth. You almost feel like you're invisible.
Right.
So it's nice to actually have people look at your stuff, and even if they don't like it, at least they looked and they gave you a shot.
Yeah.
But with that said, I sold a lot of books. I think I sold about 40 books, and that's graphic novels.
Oh wow!
So which is a harder sell.
That's
I don't sell any more floppies.
Yep. And like I was saying to Johnny too, like because we texted a little bit, and he was telling me how it was sort of, and I said, well, I think you would do well because you do have something. Well, you both do. You guys have kind of like a little, I guess, like you said, you have the slice of life, but not. You guys have more of like an entertaining, like like a Horace thing, like a not slice of life, but an actual like story, almost like a traditional comic, but indie style, So I thought maybe that would do good because it would be counter programming kind of. Johnny, what was your experience like the first year tabling there?
So, there's like the show, like you said, Keith, kind of has a reputation that precedes itself.
Okay.
It's one of those things that it's like, it's really talked about. The lottery is kind of builds a little bit of a mystique to the show where it's hard to get into.
Yeah.
And then when I finally get there, kind of like what Tony expressed, I felt very much like a fish out of water because not only had I never done the show before, I noticed a lot of the crowd was almost a little bit like cliquey, like people who knew each other. So I also kind of like not, normally when I go to a convention, I typically see a lot of people. I know a lot of people.
Right. You knew Tony and that was about it.
I knew Tony and like maybe like two other. George O'Connor was there.
Oh, George was there. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So like there was very few people. Mary Dumas, Michael Wagoner.
Okay.
Only
Michael was there.
Yeah, Michael was there too. Yeah.
Okay.
So only a handful of people. So that kind of made it a unique experience. And then, like what Tony was saying, is that I make an indie book, but it's more towards the traditional style of like producing a comic. Whereas I saw like a lot of the show was zines, slice of life, and kind of like DIY comics in a way.
Yeah. Now, would you guys say that is that most of what you see there is like those stapled like Kinko copy comics, or is it like?
So I noticed a big difference in production value because 10 years ago it was a lot of photocopy stapled. I literally saw people stapling their books at the show 10 years ago.
Oh my God.
They're making them while they're there.
Yeah.
I remember like we always joked about this, but like we put years into making our books, and then like we saw a tweet like a week before that was retweeted. It was like SPX is next week, and I guess I better start working on my mini comic.
Oh my God.
Like, stuff like that. It's just like, I spent a year like making this.
Yeah, it kind of irks you a little bit. And then see them selling hand over fist, that's the other thing.
With that said though, this year I feel like maybe all those people that used to go leveled up, and it's just like everything, the production value, there's a lot of collected editions, a lot of high quality, risograph like printing, like it was a lot of good quality stuff there. And there was a lot of stuff I wanted. Because I am into that stuff too, like this life.
Oh yeah,
stuff.
yeah. No, I like that stuff.
I love that stuff. Yeah.
Is it similar in style to Mice? Because like the one year I went I was kind of near you, which was cool, and I felt a little bit like Johnny. Like I felt like I was a little bit of a fish out of water because there was a lot of comics like that, like the stapled stuff. And,
very similar.
But I didn't let it bother me. I just kind of acted like I belonged there, and then that was it.
Well, you do. It's indie comics. You belong there.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're all different levels of indie. So it's like it's like some are like Image level or Dark Horse level, or then there's like the ones below that. So, but is it similar in style show? Would you say?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, it is, and it's funny though. The roots of SPX. My buddy was telling me over the weekend that his boss actually started and founded SPX, 25 years ago. And it started with literally like Neil Gaiman, Matt Wagner, like all these
Oh my
indie
god!
guys
Oh
of the
wow!
'90s. It started out as that.
Now
You know,
these
like,
guys, these mega stars now,
yeah.
it's great. The
And then it kind of just like, you know, it kind of just evolved into what it is now. And, you know,
oh yeah,
um, I
for
did well. You know, like I said, I sold a lot of books. I did sell, like, I think at least a dozen wholesale though to stores that were coming and asking if
oh
they could
that's
buy a
cool.
bunch.
Yeah, that's
So
really
not full.
cool.
No, I didn't sell them full price, but you know, that felt good. That was nice. But
Same with you, Johnny,
I
or
don't
No, I was
I
just
don't know
gonna
if
ask
I would
Tony,
apply again.
did you have a full table or a half table? Because that was an option
So
at this show. People could buy a half table. Did you have full or half?
so that was funny. So I applied for a half because every year I applied for the lottery, I always applied for a full, and I wasn't sure if that was hurting me. So I was like, maybe I'd get put into a different pool.
I
So this
felt
is the
like
first year
that
I'd
with
applied for a
MC
half.
with mice too. I was like, I better
Yeah,
apply for a half because I don't want to look
yeah.
like that
Right.
asshole that like wants the full table. you know.
So I applied for a half, and I actually got the half. And then when I get there, my booth mate never showed up, so I had the full
Oh, that's
table.
perfect. That's awesome.
Oh,
So
cool,
yeah,
cool.
Johnny, would you have half or full?
No, I went for the full just because
And
I
they
didn't know. I didn't know
and they
spatially.
still
Like,
let you have it, huh?
yeah, so I had the full table. That was fine. But the problem is the price point. If I had a half a table, I would have profited at the show.
Oh,
But
really? Okay.
I paid for the full amount and I took a loss.
So,
You know what
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean?
yeah, while we're talking about costs, like any indie person that's thinking about doing the show, what was the prices like for tables at the show? I know
It
it'll
was
probably go up each year, but like,
400 for the full table.
and that's
Mm,
2 day show.
Yeah,
Okay, and what was the half price? Do you
200.
guys know? 200 for
It was
the whole
200. Yeah.
for the
yeah,
weekend. Oh wow, I see. That's a big difference actually. So
yeah.
yeah,
It's half, right?
yeah.
Like
So if you had done a
literally
half
half.
table, that oh wow, interesting.
Yeah.
How big is the show by chance? Is it like in a hotel or is it
It's a ballroom
okay?
of a hotel. Like imagine the biggest ballroom in a hotel,
Okay,
and there must have been at least like 200, 300 vendors, maybe 300 artists, maybe. Would you say that's right, Tony?
Yeah, it seems about right around 200, I'd say.
now is everybody that's there? Is it an indie creator and no like stores or anything like that, or is it
Yeah, I
There's a
don't think there
couple
was.
like publishers.
Well,
okay?
yeah, there were some publishers, but I don't think there was no like long
No,
boxes or anything. You
no,
know what
no,
I mean?
no.
It's not that
Yeah.
kind of
What was
show.
what was some of the publishers? Was it like Boom or something like that, or
Floating World Comics was there. I think like Top Shelf was there, and then
okay?
like they do a lot of the you know, the indie like publishers.
Yeah, like Fantagraphics and things like that, or even
Yeah,
maybe
actually they
like
were there too. They were there,
Oni
yeah.
Press seems like that would be something they would do.
Yeah, and they what was I gonna say? Yeah, they've always kept it in that same ballroom. They could make it bigger, but they choose to keep it the same size because they want to keep, you know, they don't want to dilute the show.
That's cool.
So
I admire
yeah,
that. Like
yeah.
and how many vendors or how many creators do you think they fit in there? Is it like 200?
Well, I
Is
think
that
we were saying about 200 artists probably.
200 artists? That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. That's impressive.
And
And
I mean,
do you
and you
know
know
do you
what?
guys know what the admission is for that show?
I don't remember what it
Yeah, I
is
don't
this
know.
year.
I
I
don't
guess
think it's too
15 or
much.
20.
Yeah,
Okay, that's not bad. Wow.
yeah, yeah.
That's not bad. So what are so you said the fans are a little clicky? Is it like because it's probably
The
been going to the event for years, or is it like
I thought the creators were a little
the
clicky,
creators were a little
yeah,
clicky?
yeah. So
Okay,
like,
gotcha.
it was like people you could clearly see people who went to the shows. Like when I went to the networking events,
Yeah.
people who like have been going to the shows, they all kind of like knew each other and were in specific groups where again, like because it was my first time, I only knew like a few people. So it
Okay.
kind of I did feel alienated in that regard. And I felt alienated in the sense of like, okay, maybe my content isn't necessarily what is vibing with the show right now. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
Mhm.
But I still
Interesting.
did well in that regard. I sold out of one whole, like all my Surrounded by Death and the few bags of coffee I had with me, sold out of that. So
Oh wow.
I did well
I
in
was
that
gonna
regard.
I was gonna say that you having the coffee is a good move being at that show because that's the type of like, you know, thing that would work well there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and,
like
and some people just bought the coffee too. Like they were,
oh really? Oh wow.
yeah, they were just like, oh, this is cool, so let me grab this, and there were
Was it
clearly people who were just walking through the show, not necessarily there for comics, and they were like, oh, this is something cool I can connect to.
Johnny, was your experience the same at Tony's, where everybody was kind of stopping at each table and looking at everything?
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean, people. So when people do like the walk by, like they looked. You know what I mean? It wasn't like
yeah,
the one of these walk bys
yeah.
or
It wasn't like the
looking
flight
down
from
or anything.
Egypt.
Yeah, yeah. But I think the audience was skewed more towards maybe the things you find on webtoons right now. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
And that was clearly Surrounded by Death, The Pawn, Sartana. That doesn't really kind of gel in that, in that sector, I feel like, just marketing wise. So I felt that was a little bit of a struggle on my side. And plus, I had some real talented people around me too. I had Janet Lee to my left, and she's an accomplished artist, worked with a lot of different big publishers. So, I felt like not that compromised me, but I also felt like there was a lot to see, you know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
was kind of in a corner spot. Another thing that did me and I wanted to mention was that the cell reception was terrible. So I
Yeah.
had to refuse like 3 or 4 sales
Oh
because it
no.
wouldn't swipe. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what did me.
Which swiper do you have?
I
Do you
have
have?
Square.
It doesn't work on the offline stuff.
It does. You have to have at least a cell reception.
Oh, you didn't even have that.
Yeah, and it
Gotcha.
was really tough. You know what I mean?
Oh
Like,
wow. Okay.
and they wouldn't. And there's Wi-Fi for the conference, but SPX as a convention doesn't invest in Wi-Fi for the people at the booth or the attendees or anything. So
Oh,
that's one
gotcha.
thing. That's the only critique I'd have to give them is that that's something that they might want to consider is that investing in that Wi-Fi because I missed a few sales in the process.
Gotcha.
Now,
Yeah.
on the flip side, one of the real like coolest things about this show, and one of the reasons that even if you think you go there and you're not going to do well, the reason to go to this show is that they have a partnership with the U.S. Library of Congress.
Okay.
Now, the U.S. Library of Congress, they're basically preserving literature till the end of time.
Okay.
Until the sun goes supernova, as they say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you exhibit at SPX, you can actually submit your comics to the Library of Congress. There's a program there, and
Oh
they'll
wow.
actually catalog your books and preserve them for future generations to look upon them. So I don't know if you've done this, Tony, but I cataloged all my work with the
Yeah.
U.S. Library of Congress, and now I have
That's
that real
cool.
shiny thing I can put on resumes and applications that my books are being preserved
Yeah, that's
at the
awesome.
Capitol. Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah,
That's
cool,
I
man.
great.
can I can say the
Let's
grossest book called Weird Shit of 2022 is preserved in the Library of Congress.
That's awesome.
So
so I
yeah,
thought that's
I
pretty
just
cool.
imagine it's like some big warehouse like in the Indiana Jones. It's just
Yeah,
a million
right.
books. Just,
Yeah,
Just
they,
books everywhere.
yeah,
So
they give you this a form
a
here.
form. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and then hold on, I gotta have an email on there if somebody needs to follow up with, so I don't want to. I had to cover it up, but yeah, and then they give you like this, signed and stamped by
mhm.
SPX. It's pretty cool.
Oh, that is neat. So
Yeah,
the other thing I wanted to ask is now, is it like, what did you think, like, if you were going to the show as a fan, like what, like, is it something that you would love? It's something you would go back to all the time, or like, what's your thoughts on if you were approaching it as a fan, like?
Tony.
I mean, I think you need to be in the indie comic scene for sure. Like, you need to be more. Well, I wouldn't say that. I mean, if you want something alternative to mainstream, that's like you said, the mecca to go to. You're going to find something that you've never heard about, and that you can bring back to your friends that they've never heard about
Yeah.
to show off. As far as like guests and things, I mean, in the past they've had like Jeff Smith, which is great. They've had Craig Thompson, who did like blankets. I don't know if you're familiar
Yeah.
with him.
Yep. I've read that book. Yeah.
I met him one time there. They do get some creators, but this year I honestly didn't recognize anybody
Oh,
of the guests
interesting.
that they had.
The
So
most
I feel
famous
like as
person I saw there was Tony Sedani.
in terms of guests, I'd say like they've had Ben Mara. I'm a huge Ben Mara
Oh
fan,
yeah. Yeah.
and I still have yet to meet him in a show because I always just don't do the shows he does every year. But like I know they had him as a guest a couple times, and it's just like unless you are aware of the scene, I think, going for guests is probably not going to make sense. But if you're going for finding something completely different, then definitely a good spot to go.
See,
That
that's
TCAF,
my thing.
mice.
Yeah, like I said to my wife after I did mice a couple years ago with you, I said to my wife after that weekend, I was like, this is the kind of show I would go to as a fan, because there is all kinds of different books coming out of there, which I really liked. And I think I did get handed a bunch from people too, Johnny, like when I was there at Mice, and I read them all, like I'll anyone that gives me something, I will take the time to read it. 'Cause I feel like that's the least you can do for the person,
Yeah.
if they're giving it to you for free, but
I was just gonna say, well, so I actually did walk away with a stack of books, and
oh, cool.
this can kind of give you perspective of like what you can find at SPX, and this is like a very broad perspective now. So I was given this, it's Fairyscape by Maeve Mooney,
Okay.
and it's like this is very much the DIY zine,
Yeah.
but it's full sized and stapled,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you've got books like this that are out there, right, that you can get your hands on. Another book I got was this one right here by Phil. His name is Hostetler,
Okay.
and basically it's a nonfiction story about psychedelics in the 50s.
Oh, cool.
And it's pretty cool. It's like very indie. You know what I mean?
This is the kind of stuff too, Johnny, that I was talking about when we had Gary Dumb on a few weeks ago. Is like that kind of comic that was, in the Cleveland scene.
Yep.
That's what I picture. Like happening. In that kind
That's
of thing.
100%. Like Gary would fit in very well.
Oh yeah,
he'd
be like a top creator at that show.
And speaking of which, Scott Cranack.
Yeah.
Who does Amen with Gary?
Yeah.
One of the artists from one of the Amen segments was actually at the
cool.
was at the show. I'm flipping through their portfolio and I go,
you saw that?
Well, there was the Donald Trump bit that they did.
Yeah.
And I go, oh, wait a minute. And he goes, oh, I did this with Gary Dumb. I go, we just featured this on our web show.
That's
and it was
awesome.
it was too funny. And then another one I picked up was Heavy Kill.
Oh, that looks
This is
cool.
by Jared Thorne. And it was really cool. It's
that.
hardcover.
Oh wow!
Only $15. It was
wow!
sweet.
For a hardcover,
yeah.
Wow!
Yeah, and like the
wow.
art's
I didn't
pretty
even
good.
see that there. That looks cool.
Yeah,
it does.
It looks
look
like
cool.
it looks like an indie image kind of book. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it looks like what it looks like. It reminds me of something like Jeff Lemire would put out or something.
Yes, yeah, and it's a nice book.
Oh, cool.
He was right around the corner from me, so I picked this one up. It was just so there is stuff there you will find. They're like, oh, this is really cool.
I would have bought that for $15. That's a steal, I think.
And then I got my hands on these guys too.
Ah.
Oh, nice.
Here.
Now I can speak from experience. I loved Skin Deep, and I don't know if I read. I know you gave me one issue of Return to Randor. I think I don't know if I got the full thing, but I have read like at least one of those. I think. I haven't read Weird Shit. So
yeah, this is the newest one, right, Tony?
Yeah, I get that from Tony.
Can't wait to read all these, my man. Thank you again.
Oh,
Skin Deep, I can vouch for, is great. I even have the VHS folders that you put them in.
That's rare.
Yeah,
that's a rare.
That's good stuff. So we've been going for about almost 25 minutes. So any like last minute thoughts about the show that like we didn't touch upon that you guys wanted to mention?
I just say it's in a weird location. It's it's like I think it's like a college town that's over there.
Okay.
So it's like not in Baltimore, so it's tough to get to. But I'd say like I don't know if it's worth flying to something like that. Definitely worth trying to get into that show if you're a creator. At least try it once. I honestly don't know if I'm going to apply anymore. I mean, I did well, but like I like Johnny was saying, I felt like fish out of water as well. I felt like
it's a lot too, right? Because you got to get a hotel. What are the hotel prices like there? They're okay.
I don't know. I split with a buddy of mine, so I don't remember. But
I was literally right next door to these guys in the hotel.
Oh yeah,
funny. Right.
Yeah.
300 a night, huh? Okay.
300. Yeah, mine was 300, and I booked early too.
Oh wow.
Not 300 a night, 300 total.
What was the cost of the flight from Massachusetts to Maryland?
Mine was like 20,000 points and $11.
Oh,
There
okay.
you go.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
so
Yeah.
I used
Yeah,
points, which was nice.
that's
It
good.
didn't
That
cost
saved
me
you a
too
few
much.
bucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And did you have to get 2 nights at the hotel?
2 nights at the hotel, total 300. So it was
Oh,
one,
total 300.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
total
Yeah,
300.
So
total,
one
total,
about
yeah.
150 a night. That's
Yeah.
reasonable. I thought
That's
it was
totally
300 a night. I
reasonable.
was
Yeah.
like, that's New York prices.
And if you're gonna fly, the other thing is that it's only an hour and a half from Boston, or really like no more than a few hours from anywhere on the East Coast. Really, it's like a short
Yeah.
flight, so it's nice.
Okay, that's good.
It's
Yeah.
nice in that regard. And I packed up a little early, but I don't feel like I missed too much. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
okay. Yeah.
But overall, I felt like it was a good show. It was a cool to experience a new comic convention, a new comic area, expand myself a little bit, even though I don't felt like I
And you did
necessarily.
put some books in the hands, right? So that's
Yep,
good.
I
Yeah.
I met a
Both of
lot
you
of
guys.
cool
Yeah.
creators. I networked really well. A lot of people walked away with Indie Comics relay cards.
Nice.
So hopefully, yeah. So hopefully, get a little bit of a boost with the channel as well. And who else? I saw Jorge George Santiago Jr., who I don't know if you remember him, but he came for White Mountain that time.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Did he
yeah. So I
remember
saw
you?
George there. He remembered me. I saw George
Nice.
there too. So big shout out to George. Sorry I couldn't catch up with you, man, but it was a great show overall,
Awesome.
I'd say.
And before we go though, like it sounds like so my you guys there was no surprises from what you said there because like that's what the exactly what you guys said is what I picture that show to be. Although I guess the only thing I was surprised at it was how overwhelming the slice of life stuff is versus traditional. So that's kind of different. But before we go, I just do want to highlight Tony's got a Kickstarter going right now that I'd like to just show real quick. It's
Well, so this is I'm a part of this Kickstarter. So my
you're
buddy
part of
Matt
this
King,
Kickstarter. It's an anthology, correct?
correct.
Okay.
So I have the first volume in my hands here. It's Tales to Enlighten, written by Matt King, illustrated by James Edward Clark. This is the first volume that was kickstarted about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
300-page tome. Tales to Enlighten. It's just like a riff on DC, Marvel, all types of comic characters. It's like recreated in a kind of like a bootleggish style.
Okay.
And it's about a guy who has to chop off heads to reach enlightenment.
Okay.
And
Awesome.
it's an insane
like
it's an insane story. It's super fun. This book has the first volume has a bazillion pinups in it, including like many names you heard of, up and coming artists. It's like loaded with amazing art.
Wow.
This is volume 2, which is he was going to have backup stories in the first volume, but it got so out of hand that he decided to make a second volume. This is the New Testament, and it elaborates on all the characters from the first volume. I mean, there's riffs on Superman, Wonder Woman, the Fantastic Four, Batman. It's a blast. So I have two full stories. There's one of my pages right there.
This one right here?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome.
I love it.
I have 2 full stories on this book. And it was a lot of fun to make. He's been sitting on them for like almost like 5 years now, all these stories, and it's just been building up. And now this book, he was avoiding a big book for the first one by splitting it into 2. This one is now 550 pages. This book.
Oh my god! Wow. So you really get your money's worth with this.
Oh yeah,
this is crazy.
So you have an option though for new people who aren't familiar with this. You can get volumes 1 and 2 in one of the tiers. I think there's only 50 available, but there's an option to get volume 1 and 2 if you're new to this. Cool. We're almost close to the goal, I think.
I saw that you guys. You got 11 days left, and there's you guys are what 95%, I would say, or 90.
Yeah. About around $1,000 left to get.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I personally have.
I think you guys will hit this no problem. If you're already at 90%. So.
Yeah, and there's a tier for I put up a tier for my original artwork, so there's
really?
available
Okay.
towards
so
towards the bottom, an original page. Yeah. So.
Oh, very cool. What does that? Yeah. What does that run people if they wanted to get in on it? Oh yeah, here it is. 175.
175. Yeah, you get a page.
Plus you get the books too, right?
Yeah. Plus you get
that's
the
a bargain.
You get the second volume. Yeah.
That is a bargain. That's awesome, man. Oh wow, this is cool, man. Good job. This looks awesome. Yeah, so
Matt,
check this out if you guys like anthologies. Check out Tony's artwork and stories.
Yeah,
in
and
here.
I'm linking to Matt. Megatrips is his like handle. He's the writer and the one who's kind of pulled all this together. He's the mastermind behind everything, and it's just very impressive, and it's just a lot of love and effort put into these books. So.
Yeah, I love it.
Cool.
And I'll put the link in the video so anybody watching that wants to check out this Kickstarter, this will be up either Sunday or next Wednesday. And so check it out. Going back these guys before the campaign
at least
is
watch
over.
the video, because the video is like very entertaining and funny. So
Is it long or is it?
I think like the main video is like 3 minutes long on the Kickstarter page, but it goes on and on and on. And it's
Okay, yeah. I would play it, or maybe I can pull it and play it at the end of this video or something.
We'll tack it on the end.
link. And then also, after you've done that, come over and check out Mighty Mascots 7, 8, and 9 live right now. $200 away from unlocking the pirate eye patch. So
I can't wait to get an eye patch.
Yeah, so I think we'll hit it, Johnny. I got 12 days left. Actually, almost as much as you guys. So we're all kind of on the same keel there, you know. So check that out as well. But yeah, I think we covered everything pretty well in this video. So sounds like if you're an indie creator, SPX is probably a good show to go to, or even if you just want to check out indie comics. So, all right, everybody, I'm going to close out this video. Have a great week and read some comics. All right, everybody, have a good one. Bye.
Ahoy, mateys! 'Tis I, Captain Horatio Honeyflakes, and I be here to tell you about me newest crowdfunding campaign. The adventures continue with me crew, the Mighty Mascots, in issues 7, 8, and 9. Just focus your looking glass on the amazing artwork of Ian Warianto and Anton Bondi. Me crew, the Mighty Mascots, are up against some scurvy scallywags, and we need ye help to defeat them. There be a bounty of exclusive treasure, only available here, where X marks the spot. I spy a huge coffer of bonuses and stretch goals on the horizon. Then please consider pledging so we can continue these adventures with the weirdest crew I ever had the pleasure of sailing with. Mascots Unleash!